So well, how did you just start that before we started recording? What was it you said? You want to repeat it again, Mel?
Good afternoon, Wendy. I was saying this will be very sexually explicit, and if you're a prude or you don't like sex and you're not interested in sex, you've come to the wrong place. Fuck off and read the newspaper.
Yeah, that sums it up really. I think that's quite
That's
a
our
good
disclaimer,
introduction.
isn't it? Before we get told off for putting lewd content out online.
Be warned, yes,
Be
we carry
warned.
a government and whatever else health
We're
warning.
going there. We are
We
going
are,
there.
because we talked about sex before, but we decided that we need to talk more about it because
Yeah.
I experience it with couples, and I'm sure you do too, that
Yeah.
they just don't. They're it's so boring.
And I just want to say it's not just couples. You could be single and having one night stands. It's not all just
Yeah,
heterosexual couples. Yeah. If you're
you're
having
right.
sex or
You're
not
right.
having sex or want better sex, this is for you. You don't have to be in a couple.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true. And I think that was what sparked me talking to you about it.
Yeah.
But you're right. You mentioned the word sex, and and there is no, where's the fun in it?
Yeah.
Where's the fun? It's, oh, goodness me. Haven't we gone past that era that our grandmothers or great grandmothers or whoever were in, where they went to bed fully dressed and just lifted their nightwear, and that was it. I call it that roll off ferry kind of thing, right? Lay back and think of England and be glad it's all over. Like,
Yeah.
what's the matter with it? That kind
I
of,
know.
why? Well, I think it starts, with exploring our own bodies. Because if we
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable exploring our own bodies, how on earth do we know what we like and what we don't like, and what's
Exactly.
okay and what isn't?
Yeah. And
It,
what do we consume that might be lighting our fires or kind of like, oh, I want a bit of that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm working with, as I work with couples and individuals, and we talk about intimacy and sex, which is often the bit that is missing and people don't want to talk about. Then yeah, when were you last intimate? When did you last have sex? And intimacy and sex aren't the same thing. And so yeah, there's often this like, oh, I don't know how to talk about it. And what if I say I'm bored with this? Then someone's going to be upset. And now I'm bringing it in. And how long have you been bored with it? And that we can't shake it up. And actually, well, if you've been having the same dinner forever, you'd be like, actually, we've been having Indian for like 6 weeks on a trot now. Should have Mexican. Why can't we have conversations that are about what we want in the bedroom, in the kitchen, out on a picnic, wherever we happen to be, about our sex lives, about, sex can be pleasure, or it's about making babies for some people, but it's also about pleasure. Yeah.
yeah, and that's the bit that gets missed, isn't it? And I think that the other thing is that if we don't actually have those conversations about what we do like and what we don't like, that can really create a big problem. I mean, I work with those people who've been sexually abused when they were
Yeah.
younger. And there will be certain things that will really be such a no-no. Now, if that isn't talked about, and you
Yeah.
don't say, look, that is the one thing I just would be, it will make me feel quite ill. It will turn me
Yeah.
off. I can't engage with you at all. If you can't explore that yourself and understand it, and if you can't explore that with your partner or that one night stand, if it's going to be just, just don't do that, because that is not going to be fun.
Yeah.
How on earth? It's going to be distasteful. It's going to be displeasurable. It's going to be a chore. And
Yeah.
do you know, I do see people where it's just a chore. I don't know about you when you have that conversation with them, and
Yeah.
it's that, oh, if they're doing it because they have to, not
Makes
because
me feel really sad when I hear that, because sex can be so
yes,
amazing and it can be so crap as well. if you're not with the right person or you don't know what you're doing. And actually, I've had people say, oh, she or he, they're not very sexually experienced. I want somebody more sexually experienced. But actually, you're missing a trick. You may have somebody who's really willing to learn with you or explore with you. And so it doesn't matter whether somebody's had lots of sexual partners or not so many sexual partners. If you know what you like and you can teach your partner and you can explore what they like, you can get to great sex, and we can ask these questions. I'm going to go there. Do you want to be licked, sucked, scratched, slapped, bitten? Sex doesn't always have to be gentle, and it can be fast and furious. It can be a bit animalistic. It could be very lustful. It could be wild. And so, yeah, people have different appetites for different things, and that's actually okay. I'm somebody I worked with for a while back, and she's like, I just wish you'd slap my ass, to be honest. I was like, well, then tell him. Yeah, then just tell him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When
I
he
think
was
as long
saying,
as
well,
you
I'd like to see her on top. Well, yeah, why don't you talk about it? Yeah.
And I think that's it. It's the main thing is to having the conversation, because if the other person has got, oh no, I couldn't go there, then you're going to really have that situation where you're never going to do it. It's
Yeah.
never going to happen. And there are those people that just they aren't very adventurous. And I think, well, what is it? Why aren't you adventurous? What does it mean that you're not adventurous? What
We
is it?
just don't talk about it. Where's the courses or the books on how to please your lover? There might be some out there. Maybe I've missed some of them, but actually, I find experience is a good teacher, and just exploring. I'm playful. I'm explorative. I'm curious. So yeah, what do I like? What do you like? I'm going to
How
go there.
does
I
it
had a
get relegated just to the bedroom?
No, it
What
does
is
in it
that?
does in a lot of relationships, yeah. But actually, it doesn't have to be in the bedroom. It doesn't have to be at nighttime. It could be in the daytime. It could be morning sex.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And why does it have to be in the house? I think when we were
exactly.
discussing about having this conversation together, I shared with you that I was quite yeah, I was young, a lot younger. I was with my first husband before we got married, and we were in a park having sex. And the next thing I saw a police officer walking towards us. Because somebody, a passerby, had obviously seen us and decided, in the days when there was a police on foot, that he'd come and he'd report us. But I mean, we actually managed to kind of walk away nonchalantly before he came and spoke to us.
Yeah,
It was just that kind of excitement. There was,
exactly. We're not talking about exposing yourself in public, but if you're on a picnic and you want to lift your maxi dress up and you've got no pants on, so what? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that is that. Well, why do we have to have it? Oh, we got to go to bed and we've got to get in and oh, I'm too tired and I'm watching television, or I've got to finish work, or like, what is wrong? Why did you get together if you're not going to have some fun in your relationship?
Exactly. Exactly.
It is
Yeah.
it. Get up, go to work, come home, have dinner, do some more work, go to bed, look after the kids, do all the chores. I mean, for goodness sake, why did you get together if you're not going to have some fun?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it is about where, why don't we ask for what we want? Is it, I think it starts often in our childhood. I mean, I was given some really strange messages growing up, never ever talked about, but while I was kind of thinking about coming on here earlier, and I thought, one of the things that I was quite a sensitive kid,
Yeah.
but my mother said to me, I think I was about 13, so I was probably, most 13-year-olds will probably be more advanced than I was at that age. But she actually said that told me my father was a pervert.
What?
And that really stuck with me. And it wasn't until years later I was talking to a friend at work, and she said, oh, it was probably because he wanted to do it with the light on. And that kind of like, oh, okay. But that sort of sting,
Yeah.
what does a pervert mean? I couldn't ask her because she wasn't someone I could talk to. But
Yeah.
that really set the tone. Well, what does that mean? Is that something I've got to be frightened of? So I often think in childhood, those messages can.
Messages around shame, about not talking about sex, not having sex, turning the TV over when the sex comes on the telly. It all happens, doesn't it? And I just don't think we explore our sexual selves, our sexual identity, who we are, what's sexy to us, what turns us on, and how we feel about ourselves, and whether we feel sexy as people. You know, I'm too fat. Self-esteem issues, they all get in the way of, you know, good sex. And so, yeah, that exploring your sexual self, that you can be lots of different things. Like you can be a professional person and you can be absolutely wild in the bedroom, or out in the car, or wherever you're having sex. That, yeah, that we just do not explore our sexual identities, who we are as sexual creatures, yeah, and our desires and wants. You know, the myth that women don't like sex, the myth that all men are obsessed by sex, and yet what we're seeing is actually a lot of men not having sex, a lot of men who are not interested in relationships, and so and also women paying for sex now. So the tide is changing, and there's more people hooking up for sex. Sometimes it's in relationships, sometimes it's recreational. So we're not just having sex in relationships, we're having sex out of relationships, and it can be lots of different types of sex. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you were saying that about our sexual being, because there are a lot of women who just, because of their shape, their body
Yeah.
shape, they feel that they can't be sexual beings.
Yeah.
You know, they feel that they don't want to get undressed in front of their partner,
Yeah.
then they're not attractive, which is a load of rubbish.
Yeah,
And I
and
think
partners aren't
we're
really
playing
bothered.
all these.
Yeah, I've had partners who don't care whether you've done your bikini line. They don't care whether you've shaved your legs. They're not bothered about whether you've got a little bit of a tummy. It's our sense of self often that is judging us as not sexy, not attractive, and that we're not desirable in some way. And so actually, what keeps the magic alive is that I desire you, I fancy you, and that you desire, have a desire for me, a sexual appetite, and a sex drive and appetite that is satisfied through sex.
Yeah, and I think social media plays such a big part in this, because we see these women who are a certain shape.
Yeah,
Even men now. I mean, men are struggling with body dysmorphia. They have to be muscular, but everyone's going to the gym because they can't be who they are, and therefore I think that plays a big part in whether or not they feel that they are sexually attractive
yeah.
or attracted to somebody else. And that's so sad, isn't it?
It
Because
is. I think it's an underrated antidepressant.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's an underrated antidepressant. It gives us all the good hormones. It helps us sleep better. It's a release. So yeah, so let's talk about mind-blowing sex.
Yeah, let's talk
What
about it.
leads to mind-blowing sex?
Yeah, because I just think people think, well, the only erogenous zones are going to be for a woman, her nipples and her vagina, and that's
Yeah,
it. They
yeah,
have no idea about the different erogenous zones. Our hands can be erogenous zones, our ears, our neck. I mean, any part of our body. If you just stroke your hand gently on your
yeah.
hand, that is really can be quite erotic. But the people never stop and explore that.
No,
It's it just is. Well, I've got hard on. Yeah, oh well, I'm receptive. I'm not, and that's it. Wham bang, and there is no kind of exploration or fun or anything.
exactly. I think sex is all about the senses: sight, taste, touch, smell. And actually, yeah, I was having this conversation with somebody else, and it's kind of like, what do you want to do? Actually, if you have something cold and there's something hot, then you're playing with the senses. Do you want to blindfold somebody so the anticipation and not knowing what's coming next adds some excitement to this. And if you feel safe enough with the partner that you're with, then you might want to spice it up a bit. You might want to tie someone up. We might want to use food. Yeah, I remember a very nice night with some champagne and strawberries, and the ice and the strawberries, and a really sexy night. So we can do a lot of things with but by just experimenting. And I
Yeah,
think there's something about the build up and the teasing and the not just, as you said, just going for the genitals in a quick right. I'm going to snog you, and then we're gonna get straight to the sex. The build up, I had a lover once who would drive me insane with teasing and teasing and teasing and teasing and teasing until you're whipped up into a right old frenzy. So there's something about you're not quite getting it yet. Yeah,
yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
tantalizing and teasing that I think often gets missed in sex.
Gosh, it does. And there's something very much about the eye contact, because if you don't look at
Yeah,
each other,
yeah,
if it's not there, I mean, eyes are extremely sexy. They're very, aren't they? You talked about this before, but if you can't make eye contact with that person, if you don't look at each other's eyes, you're not into their soul. Eyes are the window to the world, aren't they? And you can be so flirtatious with just those gestures, looking into each other's eyes.
you can have sex with just the eyes. The intimate, if you can hold the intimacy, yeah, you can do really great stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've been accused of having sex with eyes. It's like that. Yeah, you don't take your eyes off that person, and that
yeah.
intensity is there. Yeah,
And
yeah,
even your mouth, licking your lips or just
yeah,
a smile or anything like that can really be very, very tantalizing. And you know what? There's something about not revealing everything. You
yeah.
know what? If you see girls everywhere on media, and there's very little left for the imagination. Where's the tantalizing bit?
Yeah, you can
Where's
just
the
have a
bit of
shoulder on
I'm
display. It doesn't
watching?
have to be boobs or legs, does it? Or bums. It can, yeah, there's something about retaining some mystery here. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that's more tantalizing than it actually being all there and exposed and in front of you. Because
Yeah.
where do you have that build up? It's like that program Naked Bodies, and I think, well, yeah, but where's the excitement in that? Where is that? You start they start the feet and work up, but I mean they haven't even looked at each other's eyes
Yeah.
or what there is. And I think you're missing such a lot. You're
I
missing
think there's an like all presents, the unwrapping almost. Yeah, like it could be a slow unwrapping, or it could be a tear all the paper off to see what's underneath. So it can be slow, it can be fast and furious. Yeah. And I think there's something about that, yeah, power dynamics that play out in sex, and that not everybody wants it just gentle either. Some people might like it a little bit roughed up, and that's okay too. It's about what we both want and consenting to that. So yeah, it's kind of like when I hear it's a bit boring, I often hear things like, well, yeah, I would like to spice it up a bit, but I don't know how to bring these conversations in. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it is exploration. You're right. What can you try? What? Why not go to a sex shop? Why not look online and see what there is? Why not look at it and see what kind of things you can buy, what you could try, what is out there? I mean, there are games you can play, and people don't stop and think about that.
yeah.
And I think
You've got a game, haven't you? Tell us about the game you've got.
it's John Gottman, and he does. It's a free card game. I've got the app on my phone, but there are things that you can have kind of mild conversations. But then he goes into you can have conversations about just being exploring, talking to each other, feelings and so on. But then he starts the sex ones, and he is about you can have mild salsa, medium salsa, hot salsa, and hot sex. And they just are those questions and those chats that you can have between you about those explorations,
Yeah,
literally that. Just if they're a cue, they're like cue cards. And if it is that kind of thing that helps you have those conversations, download the app. I mean, you can get books from sex shops as well that would actually lead you into those conversations. There are
there's
uh,
inspiration everywhere when you think about it, isn't there?
yeah,
If you
there
could
is.
be watching a movie and think, oh, that looks hot. Can we do a bit of that? Or you might be reading some erotic fiction that kind of, read this. Do we flirt? Do we write to each other? And we were talking about foreplay starting from the last orgasm, weren't we? And that actually, yeah, you can be flirty and suggestive. You didn't have. I think one of the biggest things I see in the work I do is that when I ask who's initiating sex, the answer is nobody. So how do you even initiate sex? And, you know, do you fancy sex? Is probably the least sexy way to do so, isn't it? You know, and actually, if you're only kissing somebody for when you have sex, then actually the flirting hasn't started and the intimacy and that close connection isn't sustained. Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing, isn't it? Where I'm frightened of saying anything, or I'm frightened to start kissing you or hugging you, because I don't want it to lead to full penetrative sex, and therefore I'm just going to keep myself a distance away. Or I've got to get up early in the morning, therefore I don't want to. Oh, I'm cooking dinner, so I don't want you to touch my bum. It's so much that no one initiates it because they're scared of the answer they're going to get,
The rejection or the
or
vulnerability of asking and not getting that it's not right time, not now. Yeah.
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 And there is that. Well, it doesn't always have to lead to full sex, and that's the other
No.
thing. And I think, well,
Could just be
why?
a quick snog and a rev up for later, couldn't it?
Yes, and what's, but that's where it's not talked about. It is.
Yeah.
But if I hug you, if I kiss you, if I cuddle you, you are gonna want to have full sex, and I'm not
Yeah.
gonna move. I haven't got time. Like, okay, but if you don't talk about that, if you don't have those conversations, if you don't have that openness, how on earth you're just gonna, it be rejection the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, I can't start that because, or I don't want you to stop fondling my bum, when, or stop touching my tits, I'm cooking dinner, get out my way.
They're all bids for connection, aren't they? They're all bids for yeah, for intimacy, for touch. And actually we can miss those. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I
And
hear
rebuff
so
the other
often,
person.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm here, oh, I'm just being sexualized.
Yeah.
I think, well,
I
what
think if you're with the right person, don't you want to be sexualized to some degree?
yeah, but I think
Yeah.
they miss it because of the constant rejection, or the one partner not quite sure how to address it.
Yeah.
They will try different things, and then they're going to get it wrong all the time, because the
Yeah.
other person is not saying, well, you know what, I really, I'd rather that you didn't get um burnt in the kitchen. Can you or I appreciate you're kind of feeling that way right now, and I'd love it, but can we leave it till a bit later? That
Mm.
it's that, but it's get off. And that
Yeah.
that is pure rejection, isn't it? Rather than, hey, that was quite nice, but can we leave that till a bit later?
Yeah.
And it's the way you approach it, isn't it?
Definitely.
And then it
I think
becomes that
and you can sow all the
oh
seeds for later, can't you? It doesn't necessarily, yeah, it doesn't have to be right now in this moment. You can sow the seeds for later.
yeah.
Yeah. The
The
flirting
one thing
can
I
be
really,
over a
really
period of
get,
time.
yeah, and that one thing that bugs me a lot is when they take their work to bed. Like, what, the bed should be a place of seduction. It should be a place of peace.
I
It
think
should be a
everywhere
place
should be
of fun.
a place for seduction, Wendy. You could be at the dining table sucking a straw, eating a strawberry
Yeah.
seductively.
But
Yeah.
when you kind of like go to bed and there's one person, they're on their laptop, they never get away from work. And I'm talking about bed,
Yeah.
but yeah, they could be at their laptop after dinner, on the dining room table. It could be anywhere. They'll be sitting on the couch and they're on their laptop
I think
working.
the gadgets are
It's,
often a way of zoning out, aren't they? Phones and
yes.
gadgets. Yeah.
Yeah, so I said the
Yeah.
bedroom. You're right. It could be anywhere. Why is it? But there is no space for the other person then. Where's that space for that intimacy, that sex, that introduction, that flirting? It's not there.
Yeah.
It's almost like cheating because the other person's not there. So you might be working, but your partner's excluded from that. So how
Your
can you
lap dance is going to be totally wasted if somebody's like glued to their laptop and you're like, hello, over here.
yeah.
Yeah.
it's avoiding, isn't it? It's constantly avoiding that
The
connection,
lack
and
of
we
presence and connection. Yeah.
find us. But yeah, we don't. It doesn't have to be the bedroom. You're right. I mean, the garden, the park, the yeah, the sitting room, the dining room table, the kitchen worktop. Yeah, why? How many places have you had sex? I'm not talking asking you personally, but it is.
I would be here all day.
How many places done? It doesn't have to be, does it? And I think we both had a conversation, and we're not gonna. Maybe we'll just keep it to ourselves a little bit. But how many beds have you broken?
Dare you, Wendy? I think you might have broken a few too as well.
Absolutely. I think we had that conversation, and how we did have the conversation as to who'd broken the most beds. I've got a few years on you, so maybe you've got some catching up to do. I don't know, but yeah, well, the earth moves there. Wow, no, it's a bed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. And then it's got to be almost kind of clinical. Now, who was it? Do you remember? I think it was something that when Mick Jagger was with Jerry Hall, and he used to call her and say, "Don't shower. I'm coming home. I want sex with you." And there's something about we forget that we cover ourselves in perfume or whatever, but we're ignoring our those kind of scents, as you were talking about
Mm,
now. There is something very animalistic, isn't there? About
yeah.
I'm not talking about a stale body that hasn't been washed for about 6 weeks. That's a real turn off, let's face it. But there's something quite sensual about that fresh perspiration or sweat,
Yeah.
or from our genitals. I think there's something quite sensual about it, but we lose it.
Yeah. And exercise, interestingly, the blood is flowing around the body. And so actually, it can be a big turn on. Somebody's come back from a run and they're all sweaty. Some people are like, oh, no, go have a shower. And other people are like, yeah, bring it on. Everyone's
Yeah,
different. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And there are no rights or wrongs. It's just what you like, but knowing what you like and exploring and not being afraid to own that. I think, yeah, to bring that in, whether I've been watching this on the telly or I've been thinking, it'd be nice to try this or try that. And how we try it, that people worry about criticizing the other. So behind every criticism is an unexpressed wish. Yeah,
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 definitely. And it is, if you shut your partner down immediately, you're missing an opportunity,
yeah,
and you are actually creating a disconnection,
yeah,
because your partner's likely to go, right, that's it. And then they'll withdraw, they're going to feel the guilt and shame, and you are missing out a lot. And it might be, oh, I'm not quite sure about that, rather than, oh no, because that is
yeah.
immediately the
And
shame.
these conversations, they can be happening over dinner. They could be happening while we're having sex. Kiss me here. I like it here. This turns me on. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
People don't.
No,
Not
they don't.
us people, well, what do you ask? Do you tell your partner,
Yeah,
your
can you go
what you
slower?
don't
Can we
like?
slow this down? Can we speed this up? Yeah.
And they
What
won't. They don't know.
What will
Oh,
you do
no,
if I
no.
slap your ass right now? Can I try it? Yeah, we can ask these questions if you've got a good relationship or you're open. And I say if you've got a good relationship, it could be a complete stranger, but if you're willing to have this conversation, then the likelihood is the other partner may join you. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
actually, there's something about people who aren't in relationship who may have better sex because I don't have to take care of you. I don't have to worry about your judgments. And so we can just do what we want to do and we can both claim and ask for what we need without pissing the other off.
Yeah,
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 yeah. You're not gonna. There's less to risk in that way, isn't there?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
We
yeah.
just came here for a good time, and actually there's no expectations. And I know nothing about, I don't need to get into how many people you've slept with, or why are you suddenly bringing this why are you suddenly asking me to kiss the back of your neck when you've never asked that for the last 4 years, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
I think there's something quite erotic about fantasizing as well. Whether you
yeah,
are pleasuring yourself and fantasizing that you're with somebody else,
yeah,
which I think can be quite erotic,
Yeah.
or whether you're fantasizing when you're with your partner that you're with
Yeah.
somebody else.
Or you're
Um,
fantasizing and talking about the story together.
yes,
Yeah.
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 I think some people quite like role play,
Yeah.
and I think that can be quite erotic. Um, I think it is just the exploration and not, and just as being open to ideas
Yeah.
and thoughts. And I think people just don't have that, or they feel they're going to be labeled. I mean, women especially can be so easily labeled as sluts,
Yeah.
and I think that's wrong. I think it's so wrong. Why is it a man? Oh, well, he's sowing his wild oats, or he's okay to do that. Um, but for a woman, then she must be a slut.
Double standards of yeah, oh yeah, well we know what we know my answer to everything, don't we? Do fuck off. Yeah, women can have
Yeah.
sex, they can like sex, they can ask for sex, and yeah, if men can do it, so can women. Yeah.
And I think that's an inhibitor. I think
Yeah.
that's, from both
Yeah.
men's point of view and women's points of
Yeah.
view. That, well, no, you're a slut. You must sleep around. If you're asking for that,
There's something wrong with you. Yeah.
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 And I wanted just to bring that in because I think
Yeah,
it's
why can't we have an appetite like we do for food?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't. Well, I think there are people that think others are weird if they want to try new foods. But I mean, what? But then we do try new foods. If we like it, we do, and if we don't, well, then maybe we think, well, no, no, I don't like it served that way, but I might quite like it served that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the exploration is. Or I'm going to take olives for example. I didn't like olives for years, and then I tried one. I thought actually this is quite nice, but I like green olives, but I'm not keen on black olives.
Yeah.
Um, and then there are times when I'll quite enjoy olives, but there are other times when I think, oh no, that didn't quite hit the spot. And that's the same surely with different sex or different.
Absolutely. My little brain, I love olives. My little brain's going, oh, like salty olives and a nice chilled glass of Sauvignon Blanc. It's your imaginative, creative brain that needs to work here to get to great sex, doesn't it? Like, what do I do? What does she like? What does he like?
Yeah,
Yeah. To be playful, creative, and imaginative in the bedroom, the park, or wherever you happen to be.
yes. And I think you brought in a very important point, that thinking about what your partner or the other person might like,
Yeah.
because quite often people get caught up in their own stuff
Yeah.
and they don't stop and think, well, they're not thinking about what they like, but they're not actually checking with their partner. Did you,
No.
the person they're with, do you like that? Would you like
Yeah.
more of that? How about, what if I tried that? How would that feel?
Yeah.
Have you thought about, there's all of that. They just don't. And it's almost done silently
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
which is,
Shall we talk about some of the problems that we see and hear about as well?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm thinking erectile dysfunction, pain for women who are having sex. There are things that we can do. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think men can often, when they take medication, it can affect them with, have erectile dysfunction. Women, I've known women where they've been sexually abused as children, they've had vaginitis because their vagina's just shut down.
hmm
Um, and yeah, it can cause pain and distress. And I think it also comes into things that results in rejection then. Oh, if you can't get an erection, there must be something, you don't fancy me.
yeah,
Um, if uh, if you're finding sex uncomfortable, that there's something, I'm doing something wrong.
yeah,
So I think there's always worth checking out with getting a medical checkup in some
yeah,
way. Just
yeah.
make sure there's nothing physical going on.
And
They can
bodies can fail, even if you really fancy somebody. You can fail to get an erection. You can fail to get moist. We have Viagra. We have lubes. If you really want to get to a good sex life, it is possible. We have hands. We have fingers. The size of your anatomy is not necessarily that what's going to make you the best lover in the world.
yeah.
Yeah, Yeah.
So you're right. I think it is checking those things out that can be, uh, you go back into the shame again, the shame
Yeah.
and rejection, and again talking about it, because yeah, I've been with someone who got erectile dysfunction, and it was so, well, never talked about. I realised afterwards that it was to do with medication, but
Yeah.
it wasn't talked about at the time, and so there was, well, what do you do? Because we're not talking
Yeah.
about it. If you actually said, well, actually, I have medication and it really does that for me. Well, whoa, God, okay, fine. How are we going to deal with this?
Size of anatomy or the function of it doesn't necessarily. I've had some wonderful sex that has not dealt with the size of someone's anatomy or their ability to, because actually that's the climax is the final bit, or the bit that leads up to it. Yeah. And that
Yeah,
build up, it can be a small build up, or it can be days or hours. Yeah. Yeah.
and we don't talk about orgasms. What is an orgasm? What does it
Hmm.
feel like? Do you have to have an orgasm? What if you don't have an orgasm? Um, and I think there's such a lot that isn't talked about around orgasms. What does it mean? I mean, how does it mean that you've had good sex if you have an orgasm? Does it mean you have bad sex if you don't have an orgasm?
Yeah.
What helps you have an orgasm? And again, that's sometimes self-exploration, because then you get to know, oh, if I do that to myself, then I know that will be good.
Yeah.
And therefore I can then ask somebody else, can you do that? More of that or
Yeah.
less of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those taboo subjects again. Or sometimes it is you've got to have an orgasm to have had good sex.
No way.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you've got to have full penetrative sex. And again, you don't have to. And I think that's another big one, isn't it? To kind of
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, there are, if good sex means taking Viagra, well, do it.
Yeah.
If that's what helps, it doesn't matter. Does it matter?
I
Is
think the
that,
majority of, I don't know if it's British thing, I really don't know, but there's a lot of people who have sex when they're drunk and not sober.
oh,
I
yeah.
feel it's a bit of a shame as well.
Yes, yeah. And
The
I
inhibitions
hear
are
that.
lost with with alcohol, but so sober sex doesn't happen so much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think because it lowers their inhibitions,
Yeah.
and it gives them more confidence. And again, that's a shame if you only have sex when you're drunk.
Yeah.
It's in a lot. Yeah, because probably the next day you can't remember a damn thing about it. Boring stat.
Not going to go on the broken bed notch post, is it? If you can't remember it.
No, definitely not. But yeah, I think there are a lot of things that we just don't get talked about. And if we don't, and I'm going back to kind of when I was talking about what is sex like and so on. Is that how many different ways can you peel an orange?
Mm,
There's not a right or wrong way, is there? Get to that juicy fruit on the inside.
yeah.
Everyone's got their own way and their own methodology of getting what they want, and there are no right or wrong ways. And I think that probably sums it up, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm already, my little brain's like, you can chop it, you can just bite into it, you can make a right mess with it, you could be all neat and tidy with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But I think this is it. People just get stuck in, well, this is how you do it, and there are no other ways. And I think, yeah, there's so much that's not explored. So, and yeah, there's no excuse for it, because now we've got the internet. You can find out anything you want, anything at all. You just search for it. You can get articles. You can get, well, there are certainly plenty of TV programs that you can explore. There are books. There are all sorts of
I
things.
think the best is just play with your partner.
Yes, but I think if you're
Yeah.
stuck for ideas, or you
Oh,
actually
yeah.
believe there's something
Yeah.
wrong with you, I mean, there is no excuse. Or you just want to fantasize, because sometimes some people haven't got such inventive minds, I guess.
Yeah.
Thinking, I
Yeah.
think stuck for ideas. Well, I don't know if that will be okay, or could I try that? Yeah, I remember. Oh yes, a very long. This kind of reminded me of things that have happened in my life a long, long time ago. I, uh, I was actually working in a factory at the time. I was doing a twilight shift. My kids were young, wanted a bit of extra money, and somebody brought in a book that had all the different positions that you could try. And it were all the women were just talking about it, as women do, and saying, "Have you tried that? And have you tried that?" And then, yeah, one of the girls saying, "Well, we tried the wheelbarrow, but I've just had a problem." And then the dog came along and licked my face, and that was it. We just collapsed. And it was just that funny conversation where we felt more able to have those conversations, and just in the tea break, having this.
Yeah.
Looking at the book and having a conversation, I think that opened it up quite a lot. But I think those are things not everybody has that opportunity to do.
No, I'm just thinking of the A&E stories of people who've like tried to have sex in the shower and slipped and like banged their head on the taps and all kinds of like weird and wonderful stuff that must happen.
Yes, or you introducing other kind of apparatus and then finding that they've ended up in A&E. Yeah, there is that as well. So yeah, I'm sure they have quite an interesting kind of conversations if you work in A&E. But but then I think it goes back to embarrassment, doesn't it? Oh gosh,
Yeah,
we tried that, whatever, shameful. But yeah, I think there are lots of stories and lots of things can happen. But you can have fun. You're missing out if you think you can't try anything.
yeah. Yeah, are we having sex? What kind of sex are we having? And the leap from like being with somebody to like get into sex, I think that's for some people that's really hard too, particularly if you're not massively tactile, how do we get from here to here? Yeah, that's the art of seduction. And how do we ask without using our bodies, without maybe even asking the question? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that kind of tiptoeing your way in. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exploration. Yeah,
I'm
it
wondering
is.
about. My little brain goes all over the place. Well, I say little brain. It's the same size, but there's a lot packed in here, as we know. I was thinking about the Me Too, and I wonder about how this kind of people are maybe a bit frightened to kind of flirt anymore. That it maybe has it sanitized our kind of world in terms of the flirting and like I don't want to be a sex pest, so I don't show any form of desire.
Yes, yeah. I think could well be that people, and I'm not kind of minimizing people who've been um,
No,
sexual behavior that's discriminate, that's not right. But I think that, yeah, I think there is, we're missing quite a lot um, of that flirtatiousness, as long as it's acceptable and
it's
people
it's a it,
know
it, it's a it's a contradiction, isn't it? Of like don't sexually objectify men or women, but then actually, if we're going to have sex, then there is a sexual objectifying. There's I think you're hot, that is often required. And it may be, I think you're hot, or it might be a meeting of minds where the intimacy is spiraling and you end up in hot, even though you didn't think that person was particularly hot to start with.
Yes, yeah, I think that's another whole section, isn't it? A whole part of it where people do get really frightened or worried or feeling it of any kind of behaviors. Maybe I don't know, but I used to quite enjoy getting a wolf whistle. I was not offended by it. I mean, name calling is one thing, which is not okay. But if I got somebody whistled at me, I thought, wow, that was quite nice. I've got attention. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, when's it appropriate, when's it not? And it's a real it's I think it can be what mood we're in and who is doing it and how often it happens. I can remember being on a dog walk once and some guy saying to me, God, you've got a nice ass. And I said, thanks. I spend a lot of time in the gym. I'm glad you've noticed. And just carried on.
Yeah.
And then another time that might be completely inappropriate. We might feel that's like completely inappropriate and predatory. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, the
I
lines
think
between flirtation and what's appropriate and what's not, they're not always easy to read, are they?
no, they're not. You're right. And even if you yeah, even that kind of, yeah, the flirtatiousness, it can get misread, but
If it's
sometimes it,
mutual and I like you, then we're probably onto a winner. But if I'm not interested in you, then actually, yeah, maybe that's experience is more predatory. Yeah,
and how does somebody judge that, I suppose?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a tough one, isn't it? But I
I
think,
think there
yeah,
should be classes on learning how to flirt. I'd be happy to run them, to be fair. But yeah, learning how to flirt. Yeah,
yes, yes,
seduce and flirt.
hmm. Yeah, that is quite a tricky one. You're right, though, that sexualization and what's okay and what isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is that the Me Too. It's okay. It's good. It's safeguarding people, but I think it also can maybe dampen a lot of things that yeah, and create problems. And people are then quite worried about just relaxing or just yeah, even that flirting, just catching someone's eyes with a glance. They're worried about even that. So does it shut them down completely?
I wonder if also the kind of like isolation and stuff, because like we're talking about flirting, like being over dinner and stuff like that. But so much of it's online that we might not be in front of somebody to do this stuff, particularly if you're kind of single and if the swipey swipe right, you're just going on basically what somebody looks like rather than you don't know whether they're going to make you laugh. You don't know whether you're going to enjoy kind of stuff together. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's got very much on an image, hasn't it? Very
Almost
much.
catalogued. Yeah,
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 yeah, it's a
yeah.
catalogue. Yeah, I never thought about it in that way, but it is a catalogue.
Yeah, it's like a man catalogue or the woman catalogue, isn't it?
Like, yeah, it's almost as bad as going on Amazon. Do I? It's very sanitized, very
I've looked.
sanitized.
Chris Hemsworth's not on Amazon.
Yeah, thank goodness Tinder does Tinder have reviews on it. I'm just thinking about because I want to buy something on Amazon.
Oh, could you imagine if you had your sex rating underneath? Boring in bed. Oh, we're so silly. Yeah, on your Tinder profile.
Oh dear. Yeah, I think it is. Bring back the fun, bring back the excitement, bring back the flirtations, bring back, yeah, life is tough as it is. We don't want to keep making it boring. I mean, we all need that laughter. We all need that fun. We all need that excitement. We all need that. That's what motivates, that's activates all those hormones that are good,
It's
oxytocin.
finding your aliveness. If you can't find your aliveness, I guess, in other areas of your life, maybe you don't find them in your sex life too. They're kind of interconnected, aren't they? The health of us as individuals.
Yeah, yeah, and when sex is boring or relationships are boring, then you're not activating those hormones. You're not, as you say, you're not feeling alive, and life just becomes dull and boring and monotonous. And um, yeah, we need to feel that aliveness and fun, don't we? All
Yeah,
of us. Yeah,
our wildness, as I like to call it.
wildness. Yeah.
Wildness.
Well, I think that's probably we covered it, most of it for the time being. I'm sure we've got.
Yeah, well, there'll be more, won't there? We have these bursts of kind of energy and excitement and ideas, and then you roll with it, and then yeah, you realise that like yeah, we've done a burst for now, and we'll have another chatter, and I'm sure there'll be something else that'll come up, and we're like, let's do another one. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe somebody who's listening comes up with an idea and wants to just message us and say, "Hey, can you talk about that?" Because we're always up for that, aren't we?
Yeah, and I hope that this has been useful for somebody who is thinking, God, there's got to be better sex than this out there. There is. It's about you claiming it, it's you asking for what you want, teaching your partner, thinking about what you need yourself. So we're doing these for people who perhaps aren't in therapy, and it's just such an under talked about topic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's interesting because sex sells and the sexualization is everywhere, but the conversations aren't.
Yeah, that's what's
Yeah,
missing. That's
yeah,
what's. And then how do you know what is sexualized and how, what is okay and what
We
isn't?
don't have to guess, we can ask, we can request. Yeah.
Absolutely. So just thank everybody for listening. If you got this
Yeah.
far,
If you got this
um,
far, well done. If you fucked off because you were the person that was like, no, I'd rather read the newspaper, no hard feelings.
none at all. Try
Catch
again,
you later,
Linda.
Wendy Woos.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.